What's up everybody, Jared aka Lethal One Up here to give you guys my first impressions of Blind Fate Edo no Yami. Now I got to try out this game over at PAX and I gotta say, again, first impression, right? Beautiful looking game. That's the one thing I want to highlight just real quick as you guys check out some cool b-roll footage of the gameplay. The game, obviously it has like some protagonists that are set as like samurai. It's a cool mix, I want to say, of like a cyberpunk futuristic sci-fi city mixed with samurai, like futuristic tech, like tech-based samurai, and right off the rip it's super cool looking, I think, aesthetically, and that's the one thing that's like right the first thing you get right when you first see it. Super pleasing to see. It's a beautiful looking game, and I did get to speak to the developer, and the developer did mention that the game, I think from their last game, was such a big jump in terms of like visuals. And so again, first impression off the look alone, beautiful looking game. Now I didn't get to hear too much of what I was hoping to hear, like, you know, of the soundtrack, but I did get to hear, you know, you definitely hear the slices when you're attacking and whatnot. So I think the sound would have been there, and I think the track would have been so good had I been able to actually hear it. But you know, in the PAX setting, it's loud, you can barely hear anything. But again, visually, sound so far, you know, I wouldn't say it's really good. But the part, my favorite, my absolute favorite, it was the gameplay, that juicy, just juicy gameplay. It was so good, and it went back and it reminded me of Ghost of Tsushima. It had like that unique style of combat, which was like almost could be like an Assassin's Creed, right? Kind of fluid, action oriented, you know, kind of fight here and there kind of, except this is also going to be another kind of those like landscape, side scrolling kind of games. It's not 2D, it's pretty much 3D, but it's again just more of like a side scrolling nature. But it had like the combat that I would take from like Ghost of Tsushima, whereas in Ghost of Tsushima you had different stances, and those were the different ways you would fight the enemies that required like each stance. Whereas this game, it was such a cool take from what I get to understand of the story. The developer did show us a little bit of the intro, and again, it's just some cutscene but mostly gameplay. But you do play as this, you know, this tech samurai who basically, I think, lost their senses, like, or at least to what I was able to understand, lost their senses, and you kind of have, I think, like these implants, or you're just given just, again, just tech pieces to get these senses back. And so the different senses you can think of, right, is like what, like taste, what, touch, smell, hear. Those are just some of them, right? And basically in the combat of this game, when you're fighting enemies, you have to utilize your character's different senses to be able to actually fight certain enemies, because certain enemies might require touch, or certain enemies might require you to put on sound, or, you know, it'll be smell or something. And from what I got to try out, it seemed like it was a mix between some of the sound, and I think it was smell was the other one. But it was, again, super cool. The thing is, when you activate the different senses, it kind of adds a cool little color effect, and on top of that, there's cool little like animation effects that they added in, and hopefully you guys can see in the gameplay. But for example, when I had activated like here, I think it was, you can see like the ripples of my footsteps and the ripples of the enemy's footsteps, and just small details like that honestly just made it so cool when I was playing it. And I was like, man, this developer put a lot of time into just the different senses and just those little things that you would get from those senses. Like when you were gonna like smell an enemy, and I believe that was the other sense that I got to try out, was like the enemy was like all hazy, like it looked like as if it was like a gas or something. So just the amount of details that the developer put into it, and it's for what, like the 5-10 minutes that I got to play of it myself, so good. I highly recommend this game. If you're looking into games like Trek to Yomi, which is what I also got to play, this fits like right there with it, right? In the same kind of genre a little bit, both action games. But this one just had such a unique take on you having to utilize the different senses, you know, to actually fight and combat the enemies. And you can do combos. I mean, I was doing the most basic combos, and the developer was literally showing me the craziest combos. I think it's probably one of those surreal moments when the developer is like, okay, hold on, let me show you like an uppercut. You know, it's like an upward slash, downward, like aerial combo, juggle, smackdown. I was like, whoa, like it's just very cool to see the developer himself do that and show me, and just show some cool stuff that, like, you know, like specials and just moves that you probably wouldn't figure out, right, unless you found out from the developer when the full game releases. The full game is not out yet. You know, I got an early take at it. It's my first impression, but also the game is not even out yet. It does come out 2022. Hopefully looking forward to, I think it's a Q2 or Q3 possibly, but regardless, he did mention he's aiming for a 2022 release. So guys, do me a favor, go check out Blind Fate Edo no Yami. That game looks so good. It's gonna be available on Steam, so go check it out on the Steam store. And that's it, guys. I'm Jared aka Lethal One Up with 5-9 Gaming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.